Videos and voices of the unheard. We are 2V Stream, a global youth media initiative. And you're keeping it ugly with me, Joe Ugly, and Reverend Samuel T. Ross Lee, as we discuss local policing, local governing. The top story of the day, WNBA player Brittany Griner released, but may as well kick it off with another top story. Raphael Warnock's re-election. Sir, what
For those of you who are watching who don't know what this is the Morehouse College bow tie where Raphael Warnock went to school.
Is that what that is?
Where
School?
I went to school.
Oh, you guys went there for real? Did you guys actually do work though?
We both graduated.
I know a lot of people graduated without work.
He went on to Union Theological Seminary and did a PhD.
Okay,
I went on to Divinity School.
Uh-oh, here we go. Which Divinity School did you go to,
Only
by
when
the way?
I have to.
Which one was that, sir?
It was in New England,
Where in New England would that be?
Massachusetts,
Where in Massachusetts, sir?
around the greater Boston area.
Might there have been a place in Cambridge?
Could have been.
A place called Harvard?
Might have been.
Now, Rome, what on the street is that you have a love affair with burgundy or crimson red, whatever color you want to call it.
Maroon.
Or maroon.
Yes.
That's why you left Morehouse and went to Harvard. It was a color thing.
He's slick. No, he's slick. They both have H's, so he's like blending in. He likes the gear.
Where they have H's? Morehouse?
Morehouse, the house.
The house part?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We do separate the house from the moor, and we say the house.
You know what I'm saying? He's slick. He's slick.
So where's Les House located?
You don't want me to start calling names, do you? You do not want me to start the roll call of the less houses.
Wow.
Do you?
Do I hear? You got, all I'm going to say is, Lord.
Let's just say they're out there.
Wow.
But we don't talk HBCU in-house stuff with, non-HBCU people.
Let's
Keep
be
that
real.
in the family.
Wow.
Let's be real. Non-college grad.
Keep it in the family.
All right, my dude.
Wow.
I can talk trash to them, about them. But we keep it in the family.
I hear you. It's like me saying nigga to my brothers and sisters. Keep it in the family.
Although I did make a because somebody the first post I put up after Warnock won, I said a Morehouse man saves America again. And a person from a particular school in D.C. I think.
He thinks.
Everybody was putting love and the
thumbs up
reaction. That person put a laughing emoji on it. So I had to make a comment.
This guy can't let it go.
I had to.
Can't.
No, that wasn't. I was done. My post was done. They are the ones who couldn't let it go. So I came and said, one day y'all will get there.
I saw that, and all I said was, when I saw that, I just laughed. I just smiled.
Yeah.
Now I started putting a laughing emoji on that, but I just said, no, I may as well let it go. So Raphael Warnock won election, U.S. Senator from Georgia, first time fully elected. Mm-hmm. Man had to run 4 elections to get one position.
Yep.
But he succeeded.
Yep. Succeeded
strongly on the backs of black women who got in there and got it done.
Yep.
Stacey Abrams.
And others.
And others.
So many others. Yeah.
But I want to highlight Stacey Abrams, for example. Stacey Abrams is indeed...
My Spelman sister, first of all.
Okay. But she is indeed a champion of politics. She knows the game. She knows, she understands it very well. Why isn't she... I don't know. I don't want to put this tag on her, but I'm questioning. Would you say that she is not electable? She's not a because and I can see why. Here's why I'm saying this, because most people who are unelectable with that type of political power is because they are such a powerhouse, and the forces that be are afraid to put.
Well, in this case, the forces that be that won this election for Warnock was the African American community, the independent votes, and some Republicans, but I don't think that's a lot, who held their nose because they couldn't vote for Walker.
Mhm.
I heard a snippet of an argument around that, so I can't really go into it. When I was in the listening to MSNBC in my car, um, where the guy was like, "I don't want to go into this today because we're celebrating Warnock, whatever,"
Mhm.
but he doesn't think that the black community came out for
Stacey.
Abrams.
They literally split tickets, didn't they?
Who?
For on Abrams.
What do you mean split ticket?
Well, they voted for. Well, I can't say. I want to say they. Let me rephrase that. Georgia split
Georgia.
tickets because they voted for. Because when you look at the Warnock numbers and you're looking at the Stacey Abrams numbers, I know they split it on the Republican side as well. When you look at Walker's numbers and Kemp numbers,
Yeah. We know
they
that.
just didn't add up.
Right. I didn't see her numbers. For the gubernatorial race. So I don't know. I couldn't compare them.
I can't recall exactly where she ended up, but she got a beating. Something that I was very surprised about.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, but a lot of things are going on.
Mm-hmm. You lived in Georgia. You worked. Went to school there. You have a good understanding of Georgia.
No, I went to school there.
Okay, you went to school there. Okay.
I wasn't really involved in Georgia. I was really involved in Atlanta. I was involved at Morehouse.
Okay.
And it's a very different thing.
Okay.
A person can decide to be like, and to some degree I did, but it was a short time. I worked on Julian Bond's campaign.
Oh, okay. The great Julian Bonds.
Right. Who's a blessed memory now.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't in Georgia like that, and knowing the culture, politics. But I'm from the South, so a lot of things are going on there. A few things going on there. You got sexism from both communities.
Correct.
You got even the white independents. Don't want to see want to see a woman, much less a black woman. Because I don't think a woman has ever been governor of Georgia.
Right, never.
So
they had a senator, but who was but they never had
right. So you got that stuff is going on. Didn't want to see a woman in that leadership position. You got she's unmarried, and while that shouldn't be a thing,
right, it still is.
It still is to some people. So those things happen like that. She's obviously very intelligent, not just because of her political acumen. She graduated from Spelman. She graduated from Yale Law School. Number one law school in the country for some time now. So those elements can keep enough people away from the polls for her to be able to, because Kemp didn't have to go into a runoff with her.
Right.
He won outright.
Something like 8 to 11 points or something. It was brutal.
Well, as long as it got 50%.
Right.
Or above,
right. Exactly.
He won right out.
Right.
So, So that was a split.
And when I look at the Kemp Walker camps, and you see how, well, first of all, how whites in Georgia strongly supported Herschel Walker. First of all, I was shocked to see the kind of numbers this man pulled down, which was over 1.7 million people voted for him, and we know the predominantly they weren't blacks.
Right.
The predominantly black voters went to Warnock.
Right. But
it gives you that understanding, that clear understanding of what type of black male a white America willing to accept.
Right. You have that reality, but you also have the fact that 74 million people voted for Trump.
You're right.
They are accustomed to voting for incompetence as long as it gets them the power. I dare say that if Warnock were running as a Republican, but was going to be beholden to that Republican power structure, he would have gotten votes from those same white people. If Warnock runs as Warnock, he doesn't get that support.
And you know what's even so interesting? You vote someone based on their track record. This man has been in the U.S. Senate for 2 years and has done more than some who have been there for 12 and 18 years.
Yes.
Warnock, if you look at the stuff that this man brought to the state of Georgia.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. The money that he brought for roads
and different programs. I mean, he's the one who helped with healthcare. You look at all the stuff that this man has done, and you just like, I can't get them all off the top of I can roll them off the top of my head right now. But when I was just looking at it, and I'm like, man, this guy's track record is so strong.
There's also, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't have done it anyway, but there's a sense of urgency. I got 2 years. I don't know if I'm gonna get reelected. I'm still coming from Georgia, so let me do as much as I can. That could have been a part of his thinking, and I would have done it too.
And that could have been part of his thinking, and I'm quite sure that's been a part of a lot of people's thinking who went into the Senate and been in those kind of terms, but they still did not perform as well as he had.
That's the other part. That's the other part. I want to get as much done as I can, but then being able to do it.
Right.
But he talked about it. He was on Trevor Noah's show. And he said it was very funny too. He said, I sit there on a committee with Ted Cruz, and I sit there and listen to Ted Cruz talk, and I sit and say to myself, "You got up this morning and put on a suit and tie to come and say that." But when the possibility came down for him to vote with Ted Cruz for money that was going to help Georgia's highways and help Texas highways as well, he voted with it.
And that's an interesting part because he had one of the highest record of bipartisan votes in the U.S. Senate. He has not the best, but one of the best.
And that's political strategy as well.
Exactly. Now, that's more than just a 2-year thing. I don't know. This man is you got to be like totally charismatic to work with these individuals who are just. Because a lot of them are voting against their own damn interests.
Yes, but if they vote against something that's good for them, he can't control that. But if they're voting for something that's also going to help him, of course he's going to vote for that. If it's also going to help Georgia, then of course he's going to go vote for that. Because Walker ran the argument over and over again that he's a Biden stuff. But what he could have come back with if that had become a real issue, it didn't seem like it did ever. He has a track record.
Right.
I have done this stuff for Georgia.
Right.
Democrats are not going to be the only ones to enjoy this. Black people are not going to be the only ones to enjoy this.
Right.
Georgia is going to enjoy this, and that could have helped with some of the crossover votes. That could have helped with some of the independents, but also some of the Republicans. So, I mean, being sagacious, being intelligent is required if you're going to get things done, and if you're going to get things done that you can that don't violate your principles.
Right.
Working with the other side,
right.
It doesn't violate the principles of who you are.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a very smart thing to do. But, he's a Morehouse man. He's a smart man.
I hope they send you a check every time you throw it out there. I hope
they can afford to.
Oh, that's what
I send them checks.
You send them checks. But seeing the way Warnock carried himself in the general election, the way he carried his campaign, where he would not go on attacks. He refused to go on attacks. And
he snuck one in.
No, he held that until the runoff. And
no, that was the general debate.
That was the
general election, that debate, when he says one thing I won't do is pretend to be
to be a police officer. Yeah, right. That was in the one debate. The one thing, but he stayed away from, pushing the Herschel Walker's voice thing. He even had his surrogate stayed away from doing that.
Yeah.
They did not go in that direction. And I remember listening to the pundits as like, oh, he needs to fight back and really hit hard and do this and that, the other. And I'm saying, yeah. And the minute he does that, what's the first thing you cockroaches are going to sing? Oh, what kind of thing a preacher is going to, this is how a preacher is, this how he tells his congregation, right. And we'll run it up the flagpole.
Yeah, because they would have done that with me.
I'm just going to say, as a preacher yourself.
Because I would have done it.
I was getting ready to ask you.
Listen, I have said repeatedly, I think I would make a great office holder. I am not going to make a great candidate.
Oh, well, that's because you have a liberal tendency. I'm not going to call you a Democrat. Because, okay.
Not even because of that. It's because first of all, I'm not going to massage the truth, and I'm coming back at whoever attacking me.
That's probably why you're an independent. Is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Because no.
Well, unaffiliated in New Haven.
Yeah.
New Haven.
And the reason why I say this is because one thing about Democrats, man, they can't campaign. They can't campaign to save their life.
And are not smart enough to get with the people who can.
True that.
Bill Clinton.
True that. True. Look what Al Gore did.
Gore.
Yeah. Look.
What about Hillary?
Well, exactly.
Oh, I want to be this woman who does this woman. No, you want to get in office. That's what they understand. We don't care how we get there.
Right.
There's a whole song written about that. You can catch me by a caravan. Across the desert like an Arab. I don't care how you get here.
Just get here how you can.
Right. And so, but they want to, all this message stuff. I'm going to be my own man because, Bill Clinton. What was his issue with
with Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
That's because he had all the Monica Lewinsky and all of that stuff.
The Monica Lewinsky thing, right?
Yeah.
But look what he did when he ran against an incumbent president.
Exactly.
He had more than Lewinsky.
He sure did.
Yes.
But he had they even tried to hang the rope around Hillary's neck for that when she said that I'm not Tammy Wynette, stand by my man thing in an interview.
Right.
And they try to hang that around.
We're offended.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Half y'all didn't ever even heard of Tammy Wynette until.
And she didn't know until she went to Arkansas.
Really?
They like playing Tammy Wynette in suburban Chicago. But so he did. He ran a smart campaign. And Warnock ran a smart campaign. Yeah. I'm sure his campaign managers and handlers and I won't call them handlers, but people working to do that helped. But it's also what I saw because I know Warnock. I've known him since he was in college.
Okay. Oh, you know him personally.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Warnock's on that campaign trail was a Warnock that I've always known.
Now then he switched up and it came to the runoff. Well, he allowed the floodgates open to let Herschel Walker voice to Herschel Walker in.
Oh yeah,
which was smart.
Yes, because that was I wouldn't consider that an attack ad though.
Okay.
Or an attack ad is when you have a voice or your voice is saying you. He just put Herschel Walker out there for the people.
Right.
All those things that were in that ad, Herschel Walker said.
But he wouldn't touch it in the general is my point. He wouldn't even go there. That was not his thing. He didn't want to deal with that.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know the strategy necessarily.
Right.
They probably thought that maybe they could just win right out and didn't have to. I mean, the whole a runoff thing is vestige of racism.
Oh my God!
That's what that is.
Yes.
So I don't know. I can't talk about the strategy because I'm not a part of the inner circles of that thing. But putting Walker out. After the general election, they saw how close he got, how close Walker got. It's like, okay, maybe we have to do something more.
And
in terms of putting that type of video, that type of commercial out.
I don't know what the last count was, but I believe I heard it was close to 100,000 ahead of Walker. He won. And Herschel Walker, I don't get this Republican whole new approach to things where they can't just concede. It's like just say, oh, you know what?
He didn't concede? I thought he did.
No, he got a half booty. Cause it wasn't like, I called Senator Warnock and congratulated him.
He didn't do that?
No.
Wow.
No. It was one of those, half booty speeches, and the night of we had a good fight, we fought a good fight, and
Well, of
really,
course, I mean
this is like the fourth quarter. I'm tired. I'm ready to go back to Texas anyway.
yeah. Well, I told you my college roommate said, the running back can run back to Texas now. But that's Trump stuff.
Yeah.
Trump never conceded.
Right.
And then you got all these other Republicans.
But then he did say something though that was a little slide at Trump, where we have to respect the Constitution and we have to respect our elected officials.
You're suggesting that Herschel Walker can be subtle and nuanced.
That's true. That's true.
I don't think that's.
I
don't think the sister who ran in Arizona and lost is conceded.
Carrie Lake. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. She's not.
She's suing.
Yeah, she's suing.
Right.
Although they already certified the votes this last week.
Right. When I said sister,
I know. I
meant that literally. Have you ever looked at that woman?
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
Have you ever looked at that woman? Somebody needs to tell her
that she's black.
That she's black. Someone needs to, and look at her family members, her siblings.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen a picture of all of them together?
No.
Somebody needs to tell
Please
her.
bring it up.
Oh
Please.
my God.
Mama went
play somewhere.
Somewhere,
so they were playing around in the family.
Somewhere.
She had something to prove.
Yeah.
Somebody need to tell that woman, you black.
Wow.
You really think so?
I bet you if you give her the ingredients,
wow,
she can cook you a sweet potato pie. There's nobody telling her how to cook a sweet potato pie. I guarantee you, that woman she will make you a potato salad with no raisins in it. What was it?
Paprika.
Yeah,
paprika.
Wow.
Yeah,
I lived out there.
She gonna put all that in it.
Yeah.
She is that woman black. And she's like, somebody need to tell her.
Damn.
Pass the note. Somebody pass a note. Did you ever see a family? Did it ever come up? Oh, okay. Let it go.
Somebody need to let it. Yeah. Next issue. Next topic.
No, actually, I like the. I want to hang on the Raphael Warnock Herschel Walker runoff because it plays such a major role. And now I understand that you know him personally, and we have his history of his voting record. Should I say not his history, but that too. But we have his voting record on hand. Now that the Senate is 51%. I mean, 51-49. Which is 51% actually. I don't know if I've been trying to really wrap my head around what is the big advantage of this, seeing that there's still a filibuster in play.
Well, the filibuster is always in play,
but not on everything. Some things you go to straight.
Okay, but the filibuster that was in play before is in play now. Mm-hmm. So there's always a filibuster.
There's always a filibuster.
It's never the things that it's not on now. It was not on. It's not on before. So it's the same filibuster. Is my point.
Oh, okay, yeah, I follow.
They're not necessarily beholden to Manchin.
Oh, that's right.
And
Kirsten
Cinnamon, or whatever, the way they were.
Right.
Because they do not only have 51 votes.
They have the vice president
52.
Right. They have the vice president if
exactly.
they need to push
if they
forward.
need it. Right.
Yeah. So those two now are null.
Yes, they have made them null and void.
That is so beautiful.
What is it? The Dino. The two Dinos. Democrats in name only.
Right. Dinos.
Yeah, the dinos.
Dinos,
the rhinos and the dinos. Right?
Yeah.
Not too many rhinos, but you got a couple.
Not lately, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not lately.
You can't survive in the Trump situation. But they were moving them out. There was another thing that you didn't have in there. I just want to throw in. I was listening to the oral arguments on the gay wedding thing.
Right.
I heard Alito's attempt at a joke when you talk about black kids wearing KKK stuff. I was kind of disappointed in the way the media talked about it because they talked about, they ran it like it was serious. Mm-hmm. It's actually more of a damaging thing to recognize that it was a joke. because you are joking about
something so
that
trash.
terrorized black people.
Right.
The first terrorist
and just to bring
in America
people
was KKK, and the
Right.
people being terrorized were black folk. And you think that's funny. You think that's something you can make a joke out of. You would never do that with any other oppressed community.
Right.
Even the gay community that you disagree with.
Right.
Or women that you try to, control.
Correct.
But you thought you could do that,
on like they do it on everything. They just, when it comes to us, no holds barred.
Exactly.
Just let it rip.
Exactly.
And
nobody.
And if we say something, oh, you're too sensitive. Oh, you're this.
Yeah.
Oh, you.
I don't really. Care
you.
about
I don't give a damn
they
either.
reacting
I'm
to.
just saying that's what they are. Oh, your victimhood. Oh, your victimhood. Oh, but here's the best one I love. Oh, you're playing the race card. Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
Because my point is, why is it in the deck if I can't play it?
You're right. Right. If I get a chance to get the big joker.
Exactly right.
I'm gonna get the big joker.
There you go.
And I'm gonna play it.
There you go.
So yeah, but the fact that nobody brought that out was disappointing to me.
And in case you don't know exactly what case, the Right Reverend Minister, Pastor, Counselor Samuel T. Russley, and the T stands for Leroy. The T is silent. But in case you don't know what case they were talking about, it's a case out of Colorado where a woman sued. She brought a case to the Supreme Court, which is really a judgment. This is going to be a judgment trying to find a case, because it wasn't even a case out there, where she sued because she sued the state of Colorado because she did not want to do websites for gay individuals.
Right.
So anyone from the LGBTQ community. So she sued the state of Colorado to not have that. Well, the way the Supreme Court usually works is there's a case, there's a verdict, and then you go to the appeal to the Supreme Court.
I thought that didn't happen.
No, this is not even a case.
That went from Colorado to the Supreme Court?
Yes, she just decided to go there where she wants to sue. She wanted to sue the state.
She was suing them and trying to get the Constitution changed in
Yes,
Colorado.
Exactly. Like she wanted it because once they do comes through from the Supreme Court, then it's precedence. And from what I understand, and I'm like, so here we are we're looking for a judgment from the Supreme Court of the United States to chase a case.
Well, they took it up.
Yes, exactly. Which is why there was no need for it.
Well,
of course, this venom towards certain communities. Yeah. And the thing about it is, you had Clarence Thomas, who said when they wanted to go after same-sex marriage. When they took that case, I can't recall not of same-sex, when the abortion case.
Right.
They put LGBTQ. Clarence Thomas did put LGBTQ
which is why
case on the
bottom.
Right. They codify it by making sure that it is a law now to try to block that.
It's a federal
law.
A
federal law. But keep in mind that only applies. There's, I believe it was 31 or 33, some off number, states that this law does not protect you on. If you go to North Dakota, for example, I'm not sure about South, but North Dakota, if someone is gay or is from the LGBTQ community and want to get married, and it still stands, North Dakota can say, no, it's not going to fly.
Yeah.
So these are states that, my marriage was illegal in Alabama for the first, I think it was like 5 years. Didn't even know.
Wow.
I didn't even know. It wasn't until when they finally made interracial marriages a thing that I found out
that you had been illegal in Alabama.
I was illegal in Alabama. And I was like, damn, boy, I'm glad I didn't go around in Alabama playing around. And people are like, well, what difference did it make? And I'm like, this is the difference. This is exactly what I was talking about then when I was telling people, oh, nobody's going to enforce that. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And now, here we are some years later. I think it was in 2005 or something like that. 2002 is when they finally came around to it. I was like, damn. I was driving dirty.
Apparently.
So speaking of Colorado, I want to hit on something here. I know you wouldn't expect this one. I want to talk to you about Coach Prime leaving
Coach
Mississippi State and going to Colorado.
Jackson State.
Was that
Jackson
Jackson
State
State?
University
Excuse me,
in
in
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Right.
Thank you very much for correcting that. Jackson State, which is a HBCU, which you strongly support. What's your take on it? Dead silence.
The arguments that people are raising about that don't make any sense to me.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Now let me hear yours.
Well, I don't really have one. First of all, I couldn't care less if he left there or not. I didn't go to a football college. College football is not something that I'm, up about. I went to the Vintage school I went to, that university has a football team. I went to a football game there decades after I graduated because a friend here on the Yale's team was playing there.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
why I'm not a football person, so I don't really care in that, especially college football craze. But the arguments that people are raising, like he used us and da 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 da.
That's silly.
They're also missing the fact that he came out of his pocket for things that the university wouldn't pay for.
Or couldn't pay for.
Right.
Wouldn't pay for.
They had the money?
University got money from various things that were done. ESPN coming there, the game day or whatever that thing they do on Saturdays for the football team, game day, whatever. Bowls that they won, they got money for that. He wanted money to help pay his coaching staff.
Right.
That they would, and he had to come out of his pocket.
That
stuff. He didn't make some, ultimate commitment that, and the guy that I said, had written a post, or not, it wasn't a post, he put a video on that I said it was the pseudo intellectual stuff. He said, I was like, well, for black people, he brought his son, and that just said to black people that he was going to stay there. No, it didn't.
What? But even if you were slightly informed, the man was interviewed on 60 Minutes about a month ago.
Right.
And he clearly stated, if a Big Ten or a big school called,
right,
I will be stupid not to, because I have a staff that I got to pay.
Right.
I got people that I got to take care of. He said it. It wasn't quiet.
And here's what I'm not hearing on either side of that argument. There was, I think I mentioned this to you a few days ago. There was some talk, I don't know how deep it is, but there's some talk about Ray Lewis going and coaching at Morehouse.
Right.
Okay. That says to me that Coach Prime may have started a trend.
Right.
That's larger than Jackson State University.
Thank you.
And helpful to HBCUs in general. But the reality is that none of us, the HBCUs, the state schools or the private schools, are making major bank out of football,
right?
Out of sports in general, quite frankly. That's not where our money is coming from.
Right.
Those are, our students have a well-rounded experience because you have that kind of stuff. But we don't live and die
by football.
On by football.
Under 100 yards.
Right.
We don't on the 100-yard grid. No, we don't.
Right.
You're right.
It's exciting. But they make more money from HBCUs from their bands than they do from their football. And the white bands are beginning to copy, just like they do all kind of black culture. They begin to copy the black bands and how they perform because it's more excited than walking on the field with 1, 2, 3, 4,
right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
When we are doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and double it, the 1 will let 2 will let 3 will let 4. We're doing all that stuff.
Right.
But we make more money from and Morehouse doesn't make from either one of them. But FAMU's band is more popular than his football team. The Sonic Boom is more popular than the football team.
The Sonic Boom.
That's one that was I think it's Jackson State band.
Oh, okay.
More popular until Prime showed up.
Oh, okay.
Right. And he showed them what was possible.
Right.
That's another thing that they should take serious, and we should take serious from a broader perspective. I've shown you what's possible.
And I don't understand this. Why, as soon as one of us do something, we have to be pigeonholed to that for life. What is that?
Yeah, and I don't know. It really doesn't make much sense.
It really
in a long
don't.
way. And especially for something like that.
Right. Right.
But you also have the reality that you not only do you want them to be pigeonholed, but you want them to sacrifice while they are pigeonholed, because you're not giving them the resource, you're not giving them the money. We got a few, churches around the country, for example, that are paying quality money for quality musicians.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
The rest of us have a tip jar for our music, and want quality. No, the people that you want have actually gone to school. They got student debt.
Right.
They got student loans. And because you're tipping them, they have another job. So they can't put together a music program at your church as a full-time person, because you're just giving them enough money to pay gas from church to home. And you're not, they need housing.
Was it? And I follow you 100. Was this always such a thing in the black churches or black community?
What?
The way it's like the choirs were not monetarily supported. I don't know. I'm new in church.
Yes, but so was at a time the preachers weren't either. All that joke about the preacher getting a big piece of chicken.
Yeah,
that's
and the new Cadillac.
No. Those are two separate things.
Okay, fill me in. I don't know.
The big piece of chicken thing is around a culture where preachers would go to members' houses to eat. That was a part of his compensation. That's why he got the big piece of chicken. And sometimes they would give him, hams and whatever. That was his compensation. He was getting money because they couldn't afford to do that. It was later when they started paying preachers and giving them salaries and giving them, retirements and that kind of stuff. That stuff came later. Now, you always had churches where, maybe not always, but, people pimping the whole situation.
Right.
And they getting, a whole lot of money and that kind of stuff because they're promising people, health and wealth and healing and all this other kind of stuff.
Snake oil salesman.
Snake oil salesman. You've always had stuff like that, but that's been the white church as well.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. That's where he started. Stop.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's a copy.
Yeah.
A copy of what's going on.
Exactly.
But the whole big piece of chicken thing was about the preacher leaving the church, and sometimes because he was itinerant, he would be at one church for first and third Sunday, and another church is second and fourth Sunday, because they didn't have enough people to go around. And
so then who's filling in for him at the church that he's not?
They don't have church on those Sundays.
Oh,
yeah, they only had churches on those every other Sunday.
Oh,
there was a church like that in the city, in the little hamlet that I lived in Limestone. There was a Baptist church there where a preacher came in every other week. And they paid him for that, or they gave him what they gave him. I don't, because there wasn't really a whole lot of people, and they may have been taking him home and give him the big piece of chicken. But that's where that whole thing comes from.
Be careful what's the big piece of chicken.
That's a culture. That's a culture.
Yeah, you left church. You went to work at the gas station over there. You pumping gas on Sunday evening. Preacher in your house getting a big piece of chicken.
The big piece of chicken is a synecdoche.
Yeah, I think
that defined that particular piece of culture, and people didn't realize that. They just took it out and made a joke out of it.
Right.
But it's actually a whole culture around that.
Right.
Wow.
Paying the musician, or really anybody else, came slowly, and then they start giving him. We're gonna give him a little something, and then. But there are communities where it grew faster with saying we're going to pay full-time salary for a full-time minister of music.
Is that based on, you said communities, is that based on population, or is it based on
it's based
on, go ahead.
It's based on you know what? That's kind of a chicken and egg question.
Okay.
That's kind of chicken and egg question because sometimes the population grew because of that musician.
Oh,
yes. Listen, there were some preachers in there that were competing with the musician in terms of who was entertaining better.
Oh, okay.
Think of Saints Hillsong. Their core focus was to keep their music on point. That's what keeps people in the church.
Right. That's a white situation.
White situation.
They got
big cons,
sprinkling of black folk in it.
Yes.
And they're they're having trouble now because
of course they are.
Lead people are doing some crazy stuff.
Of course they are.
But
the musicians and the
and then
you're right. I did see a piece on that. I did see a documentary on that where the big face of the face of it was he got in trouble.
And then what has happened in terms of the music in the black church? What happened? What grew out of that were these gospel artists who are not necessarily in a church. A lot of them are. A lot of them do have. And now a lot of them are becoming ministers, becoming preachers, like Winan. Yeah, Marvin Winan has a church. There's another one whose name is in front of me.
The Winans, man, they've been around.
Can't trust them musicians.
But
they stealing jobs.
The musicians start having churches now. They start becoming pastors or speakers or whatever, and that sort of thing, which is not really all that credible because music.
Well, here's the deal. It's like when I see rappers all now doing the little talk shows now on net. It's like
rappers taking acting jobs.
Acting job. Yeah,
and people are going to those churches because the musician is popular. I remember when Marvin Winan was just starting his church in Detroit. We went to go. I sang with the male choir when I was in the Hartford Memorial in Detroit, and we went to a concert they had. A male choir concert, and it was in a school, and the space was so because they were doing the sanctuary. It was basically the cafeteria, and it was so small that we literally had to wait out in the hallway for the other choir to finish singing and come out, and then we went in and we did our stuff, and then we came back out because another group got to come in.
Wow.
So I remember when Marvin Winan was just starting.
Wow. Speaking about the Right Reverend Minister, Pastor, Counselor, of course, Samuel T. Rossley. I told you what the T stands for if you didn't hear me. It stands for Leroy. The T is silent.
You got something else written on the paper. Let's get to that.
You got something else written on the paper. I don't write on paper, sir.
Well, type, whatever.
I don't even type on paper, sir. I pass my hand and words appear. Whoever said God don't like ugly never met me. He indulged me. Trust people. This silence. You chaired, changing gears here. You chaired the Civilian Review Board here in the city of New Haven. I have a question. Actually, I have a request and a question.
Okay.
My request: can you please explain the role of the CRB? And my question would be, what's your take on the Randy Cox case?
Okay. Those are two questions.
No. One's a good. Okay, go ahead.
Could you explain? Yes, that's the question. First of all, we're talking about the CRB. I want to give a shout out to Jawan Carter, who was and still is a member of the CRB, but we served together when I was on it. He was down in Georgia knocking on doors last night or the night before, whenever the election. Before the
Tuesday
election.
night.
Yes.
Or Monday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was down there. I saw it in the Independent. And I called him. And I'm like, brother, thank you for being down there helping my Morehouse brother. He said, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I know him. But anyway, so shout out to Brother Carter. The role of the CRB is the first question?
Yes.
The role of the CRB is to receive complaints from civilians who have issue with the police department.
Okay.
They give us their complaints. We look at the complaints and determine if we need to do a deeper investigation on the complaint itself, or we don't think there's much there. When we find out, when we decide that, I think we had to have about 4 or 5 people from the overall board take a particular case. When you take that case, you go down to the police department where they have the police cams, and you watch the cams. You read the file of the case and see what that's all about. And that board, that committee comes back and have a conversation with that committee and say, what are we thinking about this? And they come up with some conclusions about what they think needs to be done, if anything. Because sometimes it's like, we agree with what internal affairs has already said about this.
So the spark of the case review, the spark of it comes from where?
The spark comes from any civilian.
Any civilian can
Right.
say, I have this problem.
I had this incident with this police. I got stopped, or I got whatever. They came to my house, and these things they did wrong. And so we go investigate that.
Now, your report.
That,
okay, the report on your review. What happens to that?
It goes to the police department, and it also goes online so that anybody, any citizen can go and look at what we said.
But you guys did not have the ability.
We do not have any sort of punishment ability,
right,
and that sort of stuff. So what we're doing is making recommendations.
And whom do you make these recommendations to?
To the chief, basically.
Okay, and then
to
the chief,
AI and the chief, they look at it.
Okay, and it's then their responsibility to then take actions in regards to.
And sometimes they disagree with us.
Okay. Oof.
Yeah.
So they could disagree with you and say, "Oh, we hear your review,
right.
but
here's the part that
kick rocks."
Right. They could very well do that. But here's the part where the power comes in. It's not from the board. It's from the public. If the public gets wind of a case, and they know the Civilian Review Board is, doing an investigation on that case, they wait until that conclusion comes out. What we've said about it. If we've said things that are, we say the police did wrong and they should do better, and the police are saying, no, we don't agree with you,
right?
Kick rocks or whatever. The public can say, we disagree with the police, and we're going to use also what the Civilian Review Board has said as a part of our protest to your response to this.
So whom do the civilians, the public, protest to?
If you're doing
open protest or
protest, the public does protest all the time.
Yeah, but open protest, you could go, and there's closed protest where you meet with someone. You're protesting something means you're against it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're out there with your picket sign saying. So I want to know, can you then go to the likes of the mayor and say, look,
how many? How they could if they wanted to. The public can do that if they want to. But how many people are going to be in the private protest room?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Right.
Okay.
Not going to have that much of effect. If it's a case, first of all, if the public is really concerned about it, it's something that has happened significantly. Okay. And they can use the voice from the voice of the CRB and said civilians have reviewed this at a deep level in a way that because not anybody can just go in and watch police cams, right?
Okay.
They have looked at this. They have taken a deep dive at this, and this is what they have said about it. And we add that to what we see and what we've seen, and we don't think the police is right to just dismiss this as nothing. So you can use it's another
an addition
layer.
To
It's another layer
right.
of your legitimacy, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's another layer of that in your protest.
Another tool in your toolbox.
Another tool, right?
Right. So what I'm looking at now, I guess where I was missing, or I guess most people from the city missed with the Civilian Review Board. Their perception was the Civilian Review Board will take action against the police, which you guys did not have that authority.
Right.
But what it is, it's more like the Civilian Review Board is a representative of the community.
Right.
Okay.
And the verb in between civilian and board
is review.
Is what we do.
Right. Okay. So you what really clarified for me was when you reminded me that yes, not anyone can go and look at the video cam
right.
of the police. So this representative board have the ability to do so. And
not just the ability, but the authority.
the authority, correct.
And we could subpoena. We had subpoena power
Oh, okay.
if necessary.
To subpoena the tape.
Whomever we needed to.
Oh, whomever. So if
Yes.
you want to know witnesses or such,
Yes.
you have the ability
we
that.
could subpoena police officers.
Oh, you can do it to.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you can say, okay, a cop said, look, I'm not going to do it. Now, what's the penalty if someone say, subpoena me? I don't care.
I
Is
guess
it the same as
the
if?
same as anything else? Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Because, you got some people, and I guess then what are the chances then of the district attorney picking that up, knowing that he or she have to work with a cop in the future?
Well, that's going to be on their own, judicial and moral judgment.
Crunch. You see, you see what I don't want to, because I actually heard these words, paper tiger, used as a civilian review board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to make sure that, okay, is that really what it is? I'm trying to wrap my head around.
It's a review board, but
Yeah.
it's not a board that can mete out punishment.
Do we have a board that can actually
No.
fund the civilian side?
No.
That could actually. So punishment only comes from the chief.
Come from the police.
Or from the police department
It's still
itself?
policing police.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the civilian review board gives the public another layer of information engagement and that sort of thing. That's really what that does.
Now I grasp what the CRB really did.
Right.
I finally got a total. Now, in regards to the Randy Cox case, where do you stand? And well, I'm quite sure I know where you stand, but share some thoughts with me.
Yeah. What I haven't heard around the Randy Cox case in terms of, how people are responding to it is responding to, talking about the culture that allowed what happened to him to happen. We can't keep responding to incidences. It's like a fire department putting out fires and you know who the arsonist is. But you're not doing anything to the arsonist. You just keep running around putting out fires.
It's called job security. Go ahead.
On that end, yes.
Yes,
But
I
if you
know,
take
I
that
know.
analogy and bring it over here, there's no job security in us protesting these things as individual things
Correct.
and not looking at them in their broader sense.
Correct.
That you can talk about the police officers who were driving that what is it called?
The transport wagon?
The transport wagon all you want to. But there's a culture that put them in that position. There's a culture that kept them from, securing him in that position. Because, I've heard the counter argument is like, well, they didn't want to get in there because it's dangerous. It could be dangerous. They get in there and the people ain't secure. But here's the problem. You never thought about the possibility when you're driving that you're going to have to make a sudden stop. How many times can you drive? How many times can you drive and that is a reality of driving. And you never said what happens in that situation. Right. That's a cultural thing. Right. And then you go to the jailhouse where they, can't believe this guy.
That's true.
You are so caught up in what, how your job has gone and dealing with people who've been arrested, who, by the way, arrested is not guilty. You have not been tried. You have not been convicted. You are arrested. I have a responsibility as a person who is holding you in custody to treat you like you are an innocent person, really, even though you're being held in custody. But I also, even when you are convicted, I have a responsibility as a nation to treat you like you are a human being.
Not even as a nation, but as a human being, you have a responsibility to treat others as human beings.
Right. But what I'm talking about when I say as a nation, I'm talking about how the culture operates, and these individuals are just operating within that culture because that's what they've been taught, that's what they see other people doing. They might get ridiculed if they don't do it. Right. So it's not an individual thing. There are very few situations where the police officers, take that back. there are cases where police officers do things, just completely outside of the policy, completely outside of what they're supposed to be doing, and in their, in the under the authority of their office. But we got to make a distinction between whether you're following policy and horrible things happen, or whether you're doing individual things that are horrible.
Often, too many times, we see these cases, and when you look at them, you realize it's not training. I'm past that. We can't train someone to be humane.
Some of it is training, though.
But when we look at how these cops handled Mr. Cox, how the New Haven Police Department, by the way, they charged these guys, they fired them and charged them with, I don't know, they didn't fire them.
They got misdemeanor charges.
Misdemeanor charges,
Right.
which is like such a slap in the face.
On the Civilian Review Board, and I made this clear before we saw the first case, what we need to do here is not just about saying what we think is wrong. We also need to see whether what they did followed policy, and then question the policy. So that's where we need to stop stopping. We need to stop stopping when people go, well, no, they're following policy. Where there's something wrong with the policy.
Right.
If people start getting treated inhumanely. We did that with the case where the brother got, hit in the head. And
the financial center.
At the financial center, right. And if you look, and we looked at that video, and it was a long video, but he was actually leaving the place.
Right.
And he did a quick stop, and that's when the cops jumped on him and started beating him in the head and stuff. But the chief comes along and says, they didn't violate policy. That's why you have to start questioning the policy. Not just the incident,
right? But
the reality that allows an incident like that to be okay.
You see, I'm glad that you highlighted that, and the real reason why I am echoing this, what you said, is because too often we walk around with the assumption that, or that's implied by our protest, that we are challenging the policy.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes.
No, it's not. We have to clearly identify the challenge to the policy.
Right.
Just as you say. And we have to, I agree with you 100. That is the way we're going to get, I don't think much change. I think things adjust, but that's the way we're going to get advancements.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And
you at least have to snatch that argument away from them.
Correct.
They got to start defending what they have taught people to do,
correct,
or what they have acculturated people to do, and not allow them to go, well, they were following policy.
Right.
You got to snatch that argument.
And it's such a dry argument, man. You could drown it. You could literally drown it with common sense. Well, then we challenge your policy.
Right.
And your policy, okay, you want to say your policy, then who created this policy?
Right.
Who said that this is correct to be inhumane? And why do you have a need to support inhumane behavior? Right. Why is your policy saying it's okay to be inhumane?
Right. Because what they're doing in a very subtle way, unspoken way, by saying it's policy, is dismissing themselves from it.
Exactly.
As if this thing exists on its own, like policy just got up out the bed one day,
like it could breathe, think, and thought. Come on,
you created the policy.
Right,
you are responsible.
You are the Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein. Yeah. Stop getting around.
The policy is not something. It's not an autonomous thing.
Right.
It's oh, that's the law. Slavery was the law too.
Right.
Somebody made it and somebody kept it in place. So we got to connect you and wedge you to your policy, so that when we protest,
that should be the focus.
That's a part of it.
It should be a major focus.
Right. The only time it should be on the police officer is when the police officer has gone outside of policy and you haven't done anything. Then you go after the department, but you talk about the officer as well. But if the officer is operating within the policy, see, that's much more tricky than to say, that person is racist or that person is demeaning.
Right.
This is what you taught them to do.
Right.
This is what you acculturated them to do.
Mhm.
This is what they see all the other police officers doing.
Mhm.
This is what they see the senior police officers doing.
Mhm.
What do you think they're going to do?
Precisely that. And that's precisely why I had him on here. I'm talking about the Right Reverend Minister, Pastor, Counselor Samuel T. Russley. I thank you so much, sir, for coming in. There's so much more that you and I could definitely talk on. So I'm going to have you back because 2023 is an election year here in the city of New Haven. I haven't heard any names kicking around yet for whom going to run for mayor outside of the incumbent.
Yes, you have.
Just the incumbent. That's it.
Yeah. That's the name.
Yeah, but I haven't heard any names to challenge. Is where I was going with it. The term was always. They say it was always you get 2 terms here in the city of New Haven with 2-year terms. Well, this was supposed to be it, and I don't hear any names. I don't see anyone jumping. I don't see anything coming up. And the mayor just recently said he just filed to run again.
Yeah.
So that's up in there. Look, I heard Michael Jefferson made a comment at the Randy Cox protest at the police headquarters here in New Haven when he said, the mayor won with 7 wards. Yeah, 30.
You say he won with 7 wards?
He won.
That's not all he said.
Oh, well.
He said the mayor is concerned about only 7 wards in the city.
Yeah, because those are the 7 wards that he won.
Right.
And
So
there are
the 7
30
wards that
wards.
keep him in
Yeah.
power.
There are 30 wards in the city of New Haven. 30. Don't know why we have that many, but 30.
Right.
30 wards. 7. Somebody please help me understand what the other 23 was doing. That's the real question.
And what that speaks to in terms of how we engage as African American voting public and African American people is we've got to have some big issue, some big thing that's so obvious, as opposed to looking at the small things that add up to the big things and pointing those things.
Goes back to what you were just talking about, the policy.
Right.
Looking at you got to look at the pure problem before
it gets
disastrous.
Right.
You got to look at the potential of something getting out of hand and address it.
Right.
And if your policy is for you was to pound on someone's head, then why? If your policy is to just throw someone in the back of a transport vehicle and not secure them, then why? If your policy is to just snatch someone and throw them on the ground and slam their faces, why? Why are these your policies? Why?
Yeah.
And that's the new challenge.
Yeah.
That's the challenge that we want to hear going forward in 2023.
Defend what you are standing on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I got to let you guys know you're checking us out on Videos and Voices of the Unheard. We are, of course, 2V Stream, a global youth media initiative. Once again, thank the Right Reverend Minister, Pastor, Counselor Samuel T. Russley. Check us out.